I'm Len Kearns, board certified pet orthist, owner of Foot Function Lab and Mr. Arch. After Bonnie, my wife, opens up all the casts, takes out all the paperwork and checks it, and sees that all the orders are correct, then comes over here where I sit and take the front and back of the order forms and actually scan each one. So I have a record going back to the last 15 years of every patient's order that we made, so when a doctor calls us up and wants a second one, I can go right back and get all the information, including footprints and even an x-ray that they send in sometimes. These are the casts that just came in this morning, and Bonnie already took care of the paperwork. So as you can see, some of them are plaster shells and 90% are foam boxes. I'm now going to start taking them over to the lab to be poured. Okay, we are now going to take the plaster casts, bring them over here, and because they're plaster Paris will stick to it. They're all numbered in advance and put in boxes with numbers. We are now putting them in soapy water to make it easier to take these shells off. These were the ones that the doctors put on by hand, set the foot in neutral, held their footprint up to put it at 90 degrees, and then when they're dry, put them in a box. The problem is some doctors put them in wet. They take just as many great casts with plaster and some bad casts. And they'll do the same with foam. So some doctors believe plaster is still the old-fashioned way, while 80% to 90% of the doctors are using plaster. And because these were casted in a neutral position, which means they corrected the foot as much as possible, as you can see, if we set them on the table, they're leaning inward and pronating. You can see it better from the back that the heel's pronating in. And so we're not going to pour the plaster in there until I put it vertical in the box using plaster shims cut up in advance. So now I'm putting in a shim to keep the heel vertical, and since I got 30 years experience, I don't have to use a level. And now, as you can see, there's shims in here keeping the heels vertical, and that's going to set on the table to be poured. And this one is actually rolling out, which is called supination. So we're going to put a wedge in here to keep the heel vertical, so it matches the perfect foot in the doctor's office, which is my job, to create a device to hold it there until he tells me to do something different with it. So now these two are set up, and I'm about to go over and work on the foam boxes. I'm going to cut the lids off the boxes so it makes it easier to pour. Here's a cast where the doctor put regular lipstick right on the front of the medial side of the arch, in which case to show me there was a problem there, which is noted on the form. Bonnie already checked it before I get these, that it's on the form. And since I saw lipstick here, I pushed my finger down to make a depression for the problem that he has. So I'll see it when I pour the cast. Here's the left foot where the doctor put some lipstick on, and he's noting that there is an aroma between the toes, and either using my fingers or this pencil, I'm pushing down the area that he wants pressure taken off. Here's another cast. We asked the doctors while the patient's in the office to take the insole from their shoe. Let me get one. If someone in a doctor's office or the doctor himself would take the insole, which here's an average New Balance, and take a piece of paper or the inside of the lid of the box and trace all around the bottom. That's all it takes. Follow the bottom contour of the patient's insole. Though the patient can come back with a different size, once we have this pattern, we'll cut it out on the bandsaw and save it, and we'll trim it to this size so either it fits perfectly or you'll have less to trim off with your scissors when you get it back. So as you see, this person trimmed the shape of a patient who had an old one from 10 years ago, and she's happy with the shape, and it's a 3/4 one, and I am about to cut it off. We only need one because we turn it upside down, it becomes a left or a right. And now I'm going to put it with the box and save it for when we finish the device. Here's a good cast again from a foam cast. We'll show you later how to take a good cast. But the heel is all the way to the bottom of the box where I'm holding my thumb, and the 5th metatarsal is the same depth. That's the secret. The heel has to go to the bottom of the box, and the 5th metatarsal, and the 4-foot's going to come up because 80% of the people have a 4-foot varus. The only problem I have is that the doctor doing the left foot first, which is the way we teach you, if he does a bad cast, he never looks and sends me in both of them with a bad cast. And I will call you up and tell you to recast, because I'm very particular with all the work I'm doing that the casts are done right. Now this one was marked that the 5th metatarsal has a problem here, and it's on the form. So at this point I'm pushing it down exactly where the doctor asked it to be, so it'll stick up in the air and I won't miss it when I go to fill it in, which you'll see later. So I'm now going to fill this one in. This is slightly thicker mix. Got a little left over, which will do most of that foot. I'll add some later. Shake this down and put it on the shelf. So we have enough shelves to do approximately about 50 pairs at a time. And then when we run out, we start taking these down and adding more. These are the casts that we poured yesterday. We're going to start off with the biofoam casts, so you can see all the labor and time it takes to make these by hand. So we have to just basically pull this off with our fingers. putting them back in the same box so we don't mess them up. In which case, I've already put most of the paperwork and matched the orders up, as you can see, front and back to the calves. Make sure we're doing the right one for the right person. This one is Dr. B's cast for his patient. We'll do one more. And here is Dr. T's patient from Chicago. It's all poured. And he takes good neutral casts. Now we're going to take this whole cast, which is in subtalar neutral, and as you can see it would roll over on the table, but the doctor took it in neutral. And here's the 4-foot varus. I'm now going to take this cast and clean off all the bone. And now we're going to place this over the sink for the next job of filling that in. And now I'm going to show you how we clean the plaster cast from Dr. B in Miami. Now these casts, as you see, are all balanced with pieces to keep them in neutral, because the foam was already in neutral if the doctor took the cast correctly. And again, you can see that that's rolling over and pronating, and it belongs up here if we place the level on it. And this is how we remove all the plaster. Alright, now I'm going to take the carving knife, cut down the center, cut down medial side, cut down on the 5th metatarsal head to try to make it easy. And now you can see all the hard work that goes into making these by hand, where laboratories would have scanned this shell and picked out the closest shape to it and cut a positive out, missing a lot of the details that only can be kept in the mold by doing it by hand. Remember, I did put a number on here, so now we're going to pull the back off, pull the sides off. Some come off easy, some we have to sand pieces off. It's all hand and hard work when you're doing 25 and 30 these each day. And now we'll toss this away, making sure I got the right number on it. And then I'm going to come back over here and just clean up all the edges and take out all the wrinkles that was put in here from the plaster shell. And now you can see the difference between the one that just came in with plaster all over it and number it before I do anything else.